For most people, cars are just a way to get from point A to point B. But for collectors, they're far more than machines. They're rolling works of art, pieces of history, and sometimes priceless treasures. The rarest cars in the world aren't just vehicles, they're legends on wheels. They represent engineering brilliance, bold design, and exclusivity so extreme that only a handful of lucky people will ever see them, let alone own them. These aren't the cars you'll find at your local dealership. They're hidden away in private garages, auctioned for millions, and sought after with almost mythical passion. From lost classics to ultra-modern hypercars, each one carries a story that makes it more than metal and rubber. It makes it an obsession. Today, we're counting down 8 rare cars collectors would kill for. Number 8. Ferrari 250 GTO. When it comes to rare cars that collectors lust after, few names carry the weight of the Ferrari 250 GTO. Built between 1962 and 1964, this car has transcended its status as a machine and entered the realm of legend. With only 36 units ever produced, the 250 GTO is not just one of the rarest Ferraris, it's one of the rarest cars in history. And every time one surfaces at auction, it breaks records, most recently fetching upwards of $70 million. The Ferrari 250 GTO was designed to dominate the racetrack, built for FIA's Group 3 Grand Touring Car category. Its 3.0-liter V12 engine, derived from Ferrari's racing pedigree, produced around 300 horsepower, enough to push the car past 170 miles per hour, an astonishing figure for the early 1960s. But speed was only part of the package. Its lightweight body, hand-shaped from aluminum, gave it agility, while its aerodynamic design, fine-tuned through trial and error, made it a formidable competitor. The 250 GTO didn't just look beautiful, it won races. And that's where its legend begins. Cars that combine racing success with extreme rarity always capture the imagination of collectors. The GTO scored numerous victories in endurance racing, including class wins at Le Mans and the Tour de France Automobile. It wasn't a fragile piece of art. It was a warrior on the track. That balance of performance and beauty is what makes it irresistible. But perhaps the most fascinating part of the 250 GTO's story is how it slipped into obscurity before becoming priceless. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, it was just a used race car. Owners sometimes bought them for a few $1,000s, and in some tragic cases, they were even scrapped. Nobody at the time could have predicted that these obsolete Ferraris would one day become the holy grail of the car world. Today, owning a 250 GTO isn't just about wealth. It's about joining one of the most exclusive clubs on Earth. Collectors who own them often know each other, and their cars rarely change hands except at discreet, invitation-only private sales. When one does appear publicly, it makes headlines around the world. These cars are seen less as automobiles and more as mobile Picassos, artworks whose value only increases with time. For older American car enthusiasts, the Ferrari 250 GTO embodies everything they love about classic cars: style, history, competition, and rarity. It represents the era when racing cars were hand-built, when form and function worked together to create something timeless. And unlike modern hypercars, which are often designed around technology, the GTO is pure mechanical artistry. That's why the Ferrari 250 GTO earns its place at number 8. It's not just rare, it's practically mythical. Collectors don't just want one, they dream of one, because owning a 250 GTO isn't about having a car. It's about owning a piece of history that money alone can't always buy. Number 7. Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR Uhlenhaut Coupe. If the Ferrari 250 GTO is the ultimate Italian collectible, then the Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR Uhlenhaut Coupe is its German rival. An engineering masterpiece so rare that most collectors can only dream of even seeing one in person. Built in 1955, only 2 prototypes of this car were ever created, making it one of the rarest vehicles in the world. And when one sold at auction in 2022 for $143 million, it became the most expensive car ever sold, setting a record that may never be broken. The 300 SLR Uhlenhaut Coupe was based on Mercedes's dominant Formula One and sports racing program of the early 1950s. Its straight-8 engine was a direct descendant of the Grand Prix cars that helped Juan Manuel Fangio secure championships, delivering over 300 horsepower, a massive figure for its time. With a top speed of around 180 miles per hour, it was considered one of the fastest cars on Earth, at a time when most family cars struggled to hit 70. But performance was only part of the story. The 300 SLR was designed by Rudolf Uhlenhaut, Mercedes's legendary engineer, who envisioned it as a road-going coupe version of the racing SLR. With its long hood, gull-wing doors, inspired by the iconic 300 SL, and aggressive stance, it wasn't just fast, it was breathtaking. The car blended the sleekness of a grand tourer with the raw performance of a race car. The reason for its extreme rarity lies in tragedy. After the horrific 1955 Le Mans disaster, which involved a Mercedes 300 SLR and killed over 80 spectators, Mercedes-Benz withdrew from competitive racing entirely. The Uhlenhaut Coupe, originally intended as racing cars for the following season, were shelved. Only 2 were completed, and they became personal transport for Uhlenhaut himself, who famously used one as his company car. For decades, Mercedes refused to sell either of the 2 cars, considering them priceless cultural treasures. One remained in the company's museum, while the other was occasionally displayed at special events. Then, in 2022, Mercedes shocked the automotive world by selling one of the 2 at a private auction, with proceeds going to fund a charitable initiative. The car fetched $143 million, instantly making it the most valuable automobile in history. For collectors, the Uhlenhaut Coupe represents the ultimate combination of rarity, history, and engineering genius. With only 2 ever built, and one likely never to leave Mercedes's collection, owning one is essentially impossible. That impossibility, of course, only fuels its legend. That's why the Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR Uhlenhaut Coupe takes the number 7 spot on this list. It isn't just a rare car, it's the rarest, and its story of triumph, tragedy, and record-breaking value makes it one of the most coveted machines on the planet. Number 6. Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic. If there is such a thing as the Mona Lisa of the automotive world, it's the Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic. Built in the late 1930s, this rolling sculpture is not just a car, it's a piece of Art Deco history, a symbol of French elegance, and one of the rarest cars ever made. Only 4 were ever built, and today, just 2 are confirmed to exist, making it a holy grail for collectors worldwide. The 57 SC Atlantic was based on Bugatti's Type 57, but designer John Bugatti, son of company founder Ettore Bugatti, wanted something more daring. Inspired by aviation and the use of lightweight metals, John created the Atlantic with a flowing, teardrop-shaped body that looks futuristic even today. The riveted seam running down the center of the car, from nose to tail, wasn't just a stylistic flourish. It was a necessity. The lightweight alloy used for the body was too brittle to be welded, so it had to be riveted together. That distinctive seam became the car's signature. Under the hood, the Atlantic featured a supercharged 3.3-liter straight-eight engine producing around 200 horsepower. While modest by today's standards, it was astonishing in the 1930s, giving the Atlantic a top speed of over 120 miles per hour. But performance wasn't the point. It was exclusivity, beauty, and avant-garde design. The Atlantic was as much a rolling art piece as it was a vehicle. What makes the Atlantic truly mythical is the fate of its four cars. One was tragically destroyed in a train accident. Another disappeared entirely and remains the subject of endless speculation. If that lost Atlantic were ever discovered, experts estimate it could be worth over $100 million. The two surviving examples, owned by Ralph Lauren and the Mullen Automotive Museum, are considered priceless. They only appear at the most exclusive concours events, where they immediately draw crowds. For collectors, the 57 SC Atlantic represents the perfect storm of rarity, beauty, and history. It's not just about owning a Bugatti, it's about owning one of the purest expressions of automotive art ever created. Its sculpted curves and riveted spine are instantly recognizable, and its story, shrouded in mystery and tragedy, only makes it more desirable. That's why the Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic sits at number 6 on this list. It's not just a rare car, it's a legend, one that collectors would do anything to possess. For those who believe cars can transcend machines and become art, the Atlantic is the ultimate proof. Number 5. Aston Martin DBR1. When it comes to British racing royalty, few cars stand taller than the Aston Martin DBR1. Built in the 1950s, this car was created to take on the giants of endurance racing, and it succeeded spectacularly. With only 5 ever made, the DBR1 is one of the rarest and most valuable Aston Martins in existence. In fact, one sold at auction in 2017 for over $22 million, setting a record for the brand. The DBR1's story is rooted in competition. Aston Martin, under the leadership of David Brown, the DB in Aston Martin nomenclature, was desperate to cement its reputation as a serious player on the world stage. To do this, the company needed a car that could not only compete at Le Mans, but win it. The result was the DBR1, a lightweight, beautifully sculpted roadster that embodied both performance and elegance. Powered by a 3.0-liter straight-six engine, the DBR1 delivered around 250 horsepower. While those numbers may seem modest today, the car's low weight and advanced engineering made it a fierce competitor. Its aerodynamic design and nimble handling allowed it to go head-to-head with rivals like Ferrari and Jaguar on the track. The DBR1's crowning achievement came in 1959, when it won the 24 Hours of Le Mans outright, driven by Roy Salvadori and a young Carroll Shelby. Yes, the same Shelby, who would later become a legend in American muscle car culture. This victory was Aston Martin's first and only overall Le Mans win until much later, making the DBR1 a cornerstone of the company's history. But it wasn't just Le Mans. The DBR1 also secured victories at the Nürburgring 1,000 kilometers and Goodwood Tourist Trophy, proving its dominance across multiple endurance events. Its success cemented Aston Martin's place in motorsport and elevated the DBR1 to legendary status. For collectors, the DBR1 ticks all the boxes. It's rare, with only 5 built. Each one is meticulously documented and carefully preserved. It's historic, the car that gave Aston Martin its greatest racing triumph, and it's beautiful. Its flowing bodywork and minimalist cockpit epitomize 1950s racing design. Today, DBR1s are locked away in the collections of billionaires and displayed at prestigious concours events. They rarely change hands, and when they do, the sales are private and eye-wateringly expensive. For collectors, owning a DBR1 isn't just about having a car, it's about holding a piece of racing history that defined an era. That's why the Aston Martin DBR1 sits at number 5 on this list. It's not only rare, it's a legend of endurance racing. A car whose name is forever etched into motorsport's greatest victories, and a machine collectors would fight tooth and nail to own. Number 4. McLaren F1. The McLaren F1, introduced in 1992, is widely regarded as one of the greatest cars ever built. Some argue the greatest. Conceived by legendary designer Gordon Murray, the F1 wasn't just fast, it was a revolutionary machine that redefined what a road car could be. With only 106 examples built, including prototypes and special editions, it is incredibly rare, and collectors would do anything to get one. The F1 was born from a simple but ambitious goal: to create the ultimate driver's car. Murray, who had overseen McLaren's Formula One dominance in the 1980s, wanted to translate racing technology into a road car. The result was extraordinary. At its heart was a 6.1-liter BMW V12 engine producing 618 horsepower. In an era when most supercars struggled to reach 200 miles per hour, the McLaren F1 obliterated expectations, setting a record top speed of 240.1 miles per hour, a record it held for over a decade. But raw numbers only tell part of the story. What set the F1 apart was its obsessive attention to detail. The engine bay was lined with gold foil for heat insulation, and the entire car was built from lightweight carbon fiber, making it the first production car to use the material extensively. It weighed just over 2,500 pounds, lighter than many modern hatchbacks, giving it an unrivaled power-to-weight ratio. And then there was the driver's seat. The McLaren F1's unique 3-seat layout placed the driver in the center, with 2 passenger seats flanking slightly behind. This gave the driver perfect visibility and a feeling of absolute control. It wasn't just clever engineering, it made the F1 an experience unlike anything else on the road. The F1 wasn't just a road car either. It proved itself on the track. In 1995, a lightly modified McLaren F1 GTR shocked the racing world by winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans outright, beating purpose-built prototypes. That victory cemented its status as a legend. For collectors, the F1 is more than rare. It's irreplaceable. Every car was hand-built, with no two exactly alike. Many are still in the hands of their original owners or tucked away in private collections. When one does hit the market, it commands astronomical sums. In 2021, a pristine example sold for $20,500,000 at auction, reflecting its near-mythical status. But beyond money, owning a McLaren F1 carries prestige. It represents a moment in automotive history when engineers were given complete freedom. No hybrid systems, no electronic gimmicks, no compromises, just pure mechanical brilliance. It is often described as the last analog hypercar, a car built for drivers rather than computers. Today, the F1 remains one of the most sought-after cars on Earth. For collectors, it's not just about rarity or speed. It's about owning a machine that perfectly blends art, engineering, and history. That's why the McLaren F1 sits at number 4 on our list. It isn't just rare. It's a benchmark, a car that defined what every supercar since has aspired to be. And for collectors, the chance to own one isn't just a dream. It's a once-in-a-lifetime obsession. Number 3. Lamborghini Miura P400 SV/J. When people talk about the birth of the modern supercar, one name always comes up: the Lamborghini Miura. Introduced in 1966, the Miura shocked the world with its radical mid-engine layout, sensual styling by Marcello Gandini at Bertone, and blistering performance. But among all Miuras, the rarest and most coveted are the Miura SV/J models. With only a handful ever built, fewer than 10 examples exist, these cars are considered the holy grail of Lamborghini collecting. The Miura itself was groundbreaking. At a time when most high-performance cars still used front-engine layouts, Lamborghini flipped the script, placing a 3.9-liter V12 engine behind the driver. This bold decision created a balance and handling dynamic unlike anything on the road. The Miura wasn't just fast, it was exotic, futuristic, and beautiful in a way no other car had dared to be. It became an instant icon, gracing posters, magazines, and even the driveways of celebrities like Frank Sinatra and Miles Davis. But the SV/J variant elevated the Miura into legend. Originally, Jota was a one-off prototype built by Lamborghini's test driver Bob Wallace, who wanted to create a race-ready version of the Miura. That car was destroyed in a crash, but its influence lived on. Lamborghini went on to build a few SV/J models, essentially modified Miura SVS with upgraded engines, lighter weight, and track-oriented tweaks. The SV/J pushed the V12 to around 440 horsepower, gave the car wider fenders, improved aerodynamics, and even more aggressive handling. It wasn't just a beautiful touring car, it was a beast, tuned for racing performance, but still wearing a license plate. For collectors, that combination of exclusivity, beauty, and raw power makes it irresistible. What amplifies the Miura SV/J's mystique is its rarity. While Lamborghini produced around 150 Miura SVS, the SV/J conversions were ultra-limited. Some were factory-built, while others were retrofitted later under Lamborghini's blessing. That blurred history makes every SV/J unique, and each one carries a story that collectors obsess over. Today, Miura SVJs are almost never seen outside of private collections or top-tier concours events. When they do surface, they command astronomical prices. In 2020, one example was rumored to sell privately for over $5 million, reflecting just how desirable these cars are. But the value isn't just in money, it's in what the Miura represents. This was the car that defined Lamborghini's identity. Wild, flamboyant, uncompromising, and breathtakingly beautiful. It set the template for every Lamborghini that followed, from the Countach to the Aventador. For older collectors, the Miura is more than a car. It's a memory of the moment when Lamborghini became Lamborghini. That's why the Lamborghini Miura SV/J takes the number 3 spot on this list. It's not only rare, it's historically important. The bridge between classic Grand Tourers and the modern supercar era. And with so few in existence, it's no wonder collectors would give anything to call one their own. Number 2, Shelby Cobra 427 Super Snake. Few cars embody raw American muscle and exclusivity like the Shelby Cobra 427 Super Snake. While Carroll Shelby's Cobras were already legendary, the Super Snake is in a class of its own. A twin supercharged monster so powerful and so rare that only 2 were ever built. Today, just one remains, making it one of the most valuable and mythical American cars ever created. The story begins with the Cobra 427, itself an icon. Carroll Shelby, the Texas-born racer turned engineer, had the idea to shoehorn Ford's massive 7.0-liter, 427 cubic inch, 5.8 into the lightweight AC Ace Roadster. The result was a car that could out-accelerate almost anything on the road or track. With around 425 horsepower in its standard form, the Cobra 427 was already considered borderline insane for the mid-1960s. But Shelby wasn't satisfied. In 1966, he decided to create an even more extreme version, the Super Snake. Taking 2 Cobras, he fitted them with twin Paxton superchargers, boosting output to a jaw-dropping 800 horsepower. To put that into perspective, most Ferraris of the time made around 300 horsepower. The Super Snake was so powerful, it was virtually undrivable on public roads. Shelby himself called it the Cobra to end all Cobras. One of the 2 cars built was given to comedian Bill Cosby, who infamously returned it after one terrifying drive. He later joked about it in his stand-up routines, saying the car was so fast, it was trying to kill him. That particular car was later wrecked in an accident, leaving only one surviving Super Snake, Shelby's personal car. That survivor has since become one of the most sought-after cars in the world. In 2007, it sold at auction for $5.5 million, a record at the time for an American car. Its value has only increased since then, not just because of its rarity, but because of its direct connection to Carroll Shelby himself. Owning the Super Snake is like owning a piece of Shelby's personal legacy. Beyond rarity, the Super Snake's legend lies in its sheer excess. It was too powerful to race competitively, too wild to drive comfortably, and too rare to even consider using regularly. In many ways, it was more of an engineering statement than a practical car. Shelby showing the world what American horsepower could really do when unleashed without limits. For collectors, that's precisely what makes it irresistible. It's not just a Cobra, it's the Cobra, a one-of-one survivor of Shelby's most audacious project. It represents the golden era of American performance cars, when rules were few and creativity was boundless. That's why the Shelby Cobra 427 Super Snake lands at number 2 on this list. It's the rarest, wildest Cobra ever built. A car so extreme, even its creator admitted it was almost too much. And for collectors, it's the ultimate prize from the man who redefined American performance. Number 1. Rolls-Royce 15 horsepower, the first Rolls-Royce. When people think of rare cars, they often picture exotic Ferraris, Lamborghinis, or American muscle legends. But the rarest of them all may well be the very beginning of one of the most iconic luxury brands on Earth, the Rolls-Royce 15 horsepower. Built in 1904, this was one of the very first cars to bear the Rolls-Royce name. And today, only a single example survives. For collectors, it's not just a car. It's the origin story of Rolls-Royce itself. The Rolls-Royce 15 horsepower was the product of two men, Charles Rolls and Henry Royce. Rolls was a wealthy aristocrat with a passion for motoring, while Royce was a brilliant engineer determined to build the best car in the world. When they joined forces in 1904, their very first models included the modest 10 horsepower, the rare 20 horsepower, and the exclusive 15 horsepower. Only 6 were ever built, and today just one remains, making it one of the rarest automobiles on Earth. The car was powered by a 3.0-liter, 3-cylinder engine producing, by modern standards, just 15 horsepower. But in its day, this was a serious machine, capable of speeds up to 39 miles per hour, which was impressive when most early cars struggled to exceed 25 miles per hour. More importantly, the 15 horsepower showcased Royce's obsession with engineering perfection, smooth operation, mechanical reliability, and elegant craftsmanship. These qualities would become the DNA of Rolls-Royce for the next century. What makes this car so valuable to collectors isn't performance, it's history. The surviving Rolls-Royce 15 HP represents the birth of one of the most prestigious brands in the world. Without it, there would be no Silver Ghost, no Phantom, no Cullinan. This car is the seed from which the Rolls-Royce legend grew. For decades, the surviving 15 horsepower has been preserved carefully, appearing at prestigious shows like the Goodwood Festival of Speed and Concours d'Elegance events. Its estimated value is almost impossible to calculate. Experts place it somewhere north of $35 to $40 million. But in truth, its worth goes beyond money. It's unlikely to ever be sold, as it is considered a piece of cultural history as much as an automobile. For collectors, the appeal is obvious. To own the first Rolls-Royce is to hold the genesis of automotive luxury. It's a piece of engineering and cultural heritage that transcends wealth and rarity. It's history on wheels. That's why the Rolls-Royce 15 horsepower earns the #1 spot on this list. It's not just rare, it's unique. A car that connects us directly to the dawn of motoring and the foundation of one of the most legendary names in automotive history. For collectors, it represents the ultimate dream. The first, the only, and the irreplaceable. From Italian masterpieces like the Ferrari 250 GTO to engineering marvels like the McLaren F1 and even the one-of-a-kind Rolls-Royce 15 HP, these rare cars are far more than machines. They're history, art, and dreams on wheels. Collectors don't just want them. They obsess over them, fight for them, and pay fortunes to call them their own. What makes these cars so special isn't just speed or luxury. It's the stories, the heritage, and the fact that they'll never be built again. Now the question is, if money was no object, which one of these rare legends would you want in your garage?